Hi, I'm excited to bring this next episode to you with Arlind. Arlind has been in the insurance industry for a long time, and I am excited to bring him on the show to you guys. And Arlind has been a key figure in that Hartford community of insurance and InsurTech with Stacy Brown, and they are both part of InsurTech Hartford. And those of you who don't know this, but Hartford, Connecticut is like one of the big three insurance capital in America, right? Hartford, Columbus, Des Moines, right? And Arlen has been with a lot of the carriers that's in that area as a career, you know. And I'm going to ask him about what's the difference on these insurance carriers based out of Hartford, Connecticut, and he's going to give us his own take on it. And then also his time over at InsurTech Hartford, from the early days to where they are today, right? And also on this podcast, he told me he just moved and they're looking to launch another new regional InsurTech hub. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Yeah. Hello, welcome to this episode of Industry Voice. And today we have Arlind Mucaj.
Mucaj. Mu as in cow and chai tea.
Mucaj. One of the letter is silent.
Exactly.
And I am excited to bring you guys. And me and Arlen, we have known each other for a while. And this is the first time we're actually hanging around, chatting, chopping it up. So Arlen, I am going to tell our audience about you, but I think you do a better job than I will. So this podcast is about bringing the people attention and telling stories on the storytellers. Now, you are part of InsurTech Hartford, and that's how we first met. But you also been in insurance for a long time. You're like the OG insurance, and you've been with many insurance carriers and on the software side as well. So I'd like to bring our audience your story, your journey, how you gone through the insurance journey yourself. What made you led to insurance? So if you can, I'm turning the mic over to you, and let's get your story.
No, awesome. Excited to be on the podcast, Jeff. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I mean, again, I actually fell into insurance, right? So when I graduated from college, I had a job lined up to work on Wall Street. Unfortunately, when I graduated, this company that shall remain nameless is no longer in existence, and they withdrew my job offer because there was no business. So being in Connecticut, I'm a Connecticut guy, went to middle school, high school, graduated from UConn and did my master's at UHart. I was like, well, what's in Connecticut? And you got two choices. You got insurance or you got manufacturing and engineering. I am not an engineer whatsoever. So I do numbers. I'm good with people. And a lot of these carriers in Connecticut, they had the professional development programs, they called it. So Travelers was lucky enough to offer me employment. And I started in their project management development program. I was one of three people selected. So it was a very handful of folks. And that's how I got into insurance and started my career. And, back in 2008. So it's been great. I got to learn a lot, but like you mentioned, I've been at the Travelers. I did work at the Hartford, did work for Voya Financial, which used to be called ING. I spent 9 years, the longest I've been with Hartford Steam Boiler, HSB, which is part of Munich Re. And most recently, joined Verisk for the past month. So like I said, I've got a little bit of a mixed background. And on top of all that, I also wanted to do a little bit, get out of the industry. So I did about a year stint at UL, Underwriters Laboratories, where I stood up their PMO and did a lot of travel. And the goal was to pretty much develop kind of front-end applications for their top customer-facing customers. And, got to travel a lot around the world, and it was exciting, but I felt home being in insurance and, kind of listening to all the problems. I always go back to, I call it kind of the triple threat, right? People, process, technology. That's my home spot. So whenever I've been on a part of an organization, a lot of the work, a lot of the experience have been in terms of how do we leverage technology and optimize processes to be able to then leverage these tools for the right skills that people possess. That's at the core of it. It's about the people and how we make it happen. But, I love insurance. Being a millennial, when I first started, a lot of my friends and buddies would be like, you're going to go into a dying industry. Why you choose insurance? And, in the beginning, I just went in not expecting what I was expecting. I'm like, we impact the entire financial system, the concept of risk aversion and protecting your asset. Early on when I had no risk to protect, it was nothing. But now being, having homes and, cars, properties, children, yeah, I care a lot about it, right? And I think more and more people are truly embracing, first of all, being employed in this amazing industry of ours, but also the outputs and being able to work and adopt and leverage the technology that we're embracing in the industry. So, I've been fortunate enough to meet quite great people throughout my time, a lot of great mentors that, have kind of guided me from one organization to the next, different types of roles. A lot of my experience has been on what I consider kind of like the business of IT, a lot of transformation programs, program management, portfolio, design thinking, innovation coach, process improvement. But I also wanted to also look at it, kind of like the big true business underwriting and, claims adjudication. So I did a couple of stints in those organizations as well. But really the passion that I truly have, and that's what, kind of guided me to kind of volunteer my time and get involved with InsurTech Hartford, was the passion about innovation and embracing technology in our industry. And, that's what happened. And the way that happened was going through these networking events, these conferences that our industry, has, and got to meet, Stacy Brown, who's the founder of InsurTech Hartford, and at one of the tables in Vegas. And then he told me about this concept that, he's built this meetup group. And then from there, he's like, come participate at one of the major, the InsurTech Hartford Symposium back in 2019, moderate a couple of sessions, be a speaker in a couple of panels, and then grew from there to where I'm doing kind of fractional CXO role, kind of volunteering my time to be able to put these events together, network with key executives in the industry, as well as various solution providers, meet startups, embrace and put together these kind of events. So that's kind of like high level. I'd love, we can delve into any topic, but over 16 plus years, a lot of insurance carrier experience in various facets of the organization, IT, underwriting, claims, operations, and then what really I'm excited about is innovating and embracing technology for our ecosystem.
I'm going to compartmentalize a lot of what you just said, and we're going to digest them slowly. So you and Stacy met in Vegas, and that's where y'all fell in love.
Exactly. Yes. By the way, I don't gamble, but for that one time, I just wanted to try my luck, and it was the first and last time. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, so you work for a couple of the biggest carrier that's based out of Hartford, Connecticut. And let's go through the list. And that's Travelers Insurance and the Hartford Insurance, and also Hartford Steam Boiler, HSB. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, how would you say the difference in styles, vision, or just thought process, right? Like every company have their own culture, they have their goals. Like if you had to describe the difference between the three, right? Like if you are, well, let me go back for a second, because our listeners are now looking at your LinkedIn, like I am looking at your LinkedIn right now on a different monitor. That's why I'm looking away. Mm-hmm. But you led a lot of projects, right? Like when your time there, you have all spelled out. By the way, I recommend anybody and everybody do this on their LinkedIn. When you stay at a place, talk about your role, talk about what you led, talk about what you accomplished, and talk about like the liability side of everything you led, and also talk about the revenue plus P&L side of everything you led, and which you have clearly listed here. You led a lot of projects, right? So projects are what? Projects are digitalization, transformation, innovations, whatever those projects are. But talk about the different view of when your senior leadership from up top, the people that just, I think senior leadership in a lot of ways, they block changes because they worry about like little pilot programs, and they send them out in the field, say, hey, go try this, go try that, right? And at the end of the day, like, okay, what we have done for the past 50 years have always worked. So their habit is always stick with what's working versus trying what's new, right? But we have to evolve, we have to innovate. So can you talk about leading 3 innovation different projects at 3 different companies? Thank you for all your support to our channel. Here is a quick word from our sponsor. Please click on the link below in the comment section to sign up for a demo with Track AI.
What if your insurance sales conversations could work harder for you? Meet Track, your AI-powered conversation intelligence partner. Track automatically captures and analyzes every customer interaction, providing instant call summaries, risk analysis, and AI-driven coaching insights. Say goodbye to manual note-taking and hello to more selling time. Track handles the admin work while you handle the revenue. Fully integrated with your favorite platforms. Plus, get custom AI analysis tailored to your unique business needs. Transform your sales team's performance with Track. Visit track.ai today.
Click the link in the description below to schedule a demo with Track today.
So I would say, at all those companies, they were at different tenures of my career, right? So if I think about the first transformation program I got involved with Travelers, it was basically revamping the auto product for our personal lines business. I worked on 2, what I, at the time, to me, considered small initiatives. It was implementing the paid in full discount for agents, and then the enforcement of down payment. Think about how far we have gone from forcing people to pay a down payment when you're paying for a policy to now, like with the various options that you have in terms of payments, in terms of how often, the frequency, and so on. At the time, Travelers, I've been very fortunate. There's a lot of key senior people, a lot of knowledgeable, experienced people that are working for Travelers. And it was good to be ingrained into, hey, just understand and consume about what is insurance, especially on the what I call true auto and home side, right? So true property and casualty, and learn a little bit about what's a risk, the types of risks that we're insuring, the type of consumers that are doing it. And first of all, where does Travelers actually sit in the quadrant of, what's our target audience? So even with working at first transformation program is all about, hey, are we first targeting the right audience? And secondly, are we making the product, and we're talking about back in 2008 to 2010, easy to be able to be consumed, because there is now direct link to be able to say directly to the consumers, and making it easy for our agents to be able to quote and quickly bind those policies. So it's all about getting the customer in mind. So a lot of customer experience back in 2008 to 2010. When I moved over to the Hartford, I actually worked what I consider more on the operational side of transformation. At the time, the Hartford were spending over $1 billion in IT costs, hundreds and hundreds of applications for all their units. We're talking about personal lines, commercial lines, group benefits, life side, PIMCO, like the investment side. So the goal at the time was that, well, let's figure out, can we instill some kind of activity-based costing or a total cost of ownership to be able to say, hey, if you are investing in these applications, make it in relation to how much business you bring to the table. So I was one of the few program managers that was, fortunate enough to work in that program and got to meet a lot of the senior leaders and have those critical discussions in terms of what's driving the needle in terms of, the premium that's coming through the door. And to get, the concepts that I went to school for, like the financial metrics. So, how do you get to a total cost of ownership for an application in terms of, support, maintenance, in terms of the people that are assigned to it, was very eye-opening to me, and got to truly get into, doing a cost-benefit analysis of where does this application sit critically in the value chain of the organization. When I moved over to HSB, I would say, first moving in, it's a closer knit organization. I mean, I moved there in 2015, 2016. Munich Re was kind of leaving us kind of on the side. It's independent organization, do your thing. And my charge, working for the global CIO at the time, was to modernize and transform the IT organization in terms of, people, tools, and process, upskill skills for the resources that were in the IT organization, do a process improvement initiative, process excellence program. That's one of the first things I introduced in terms of how do we start thinking about, optimizing some of our processes before we start integrating technology. You need to be able to, first figure out basics in terms of, Six Sigma black belts, right? And train people in terms of looking at waste, figure out, as to what waste what items we can remove from a process that will be able to get us to the answer quickly. Yes, sir.
By the way, I just want to slow down for 1 second, go back to something you just said for our audience.
Okay.
Define Lean Six Sigma. It's something I am a big fan of, but a lot of people, when you said that, they're probably not aware what that is. So just drop on that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's multiple versions. There's Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, but it's a tool, a process improvement tool, to be able to analyze, document, analyze, and improve upon processes. There is various level of certification. There is a basic yellow belt, which basically gets you the tools of the process. Then you get into green belt and black belt. Black is the highest, similar to, I guess, karate, because I think it originated in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, part of the Toyota, drawing a blank, manufacturing processes. And the goal is just optimization of processes to be able to get quicker to an optimized process itself. But I've leveraged those principles throughout my career, because at the end of the day, my job was to inform senior leaders in the organization that if we are embracing technology and, taking new items and putting it into our applications, is, first of all, have we trained the right people on the right things to do? There are processes outside of the technology that you need to master and optimize to get you to that end result. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. So that's why I think it's very critical to just take those basics and have people in organizations be trained upon. And it becomes one of those things, Jeff, where it's a once and done thing. People don't go back. I wish more and more people actually stayed involved and did a refresher every so years, because if you don't use it, you lose it in any kind of certification. And I've done PMI. I stood up one of the local chapters for young emerging professionals for SNEC PMI. I've done, design thinking in terms of, how to get to product quicker, innovation coach to teach people about, how to best innovate in new ideas, the business canvas designing, right? Bimodal IT. I remember Gartner back in the day was teaching everybody about, there's two modes of IT, bimodal versus not. So there's a lot of these things that over time, they catch on fire. They're the new fad for the year, 2 years, or 3. But there are truly good concepts that can help an organization and people of the organization to just do basic asking why, like, why are we doing this? And are there ways to more efficiently, adopt some of these processes and introduce technology in the door? That helps.
That helps.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on asking questions.
Please do.
How did you meet Stacy? Talk about that Vegas trip, and then when he tell you about the idea of InsurTech Hartford, because you guys have truly built a community within the Hartford Connecticut area, but also within the InsurTech area. I mean, insurance is a small community, but InsurTech is truly a small community, right? So this community of InsurTech, everybody knows a group of names. And you guys are those group of names. And when I started the Industry Voice podcast, there's Arlind and Stacy and David Gritz, right? You guys are the three OGs I have up there. I was like, okay, they're getting on the pot, right?
Well, thank you. It's nice of you.
Yeah, you can take a little bit pat on the back. So
That's true.
Let's talk about that first time y'all chatted. Like, let's go start InsurTech Hartford. What was that like?
Yeah. So I would say, InsurTech Hartford as an organization, Stacy being the founder, he started this meetup group back in 2017 when it was just kind of catching on, right? This idea of, hey, how can we leverage technology in insurance to make great things happen and adopt to be able to make, rate making better, adjudicating claims better, whatever that might be. I met Stacy, like I said, in a conference. I don't remember the exact conference, but I know it was at a conference. And when I was having conversation with him, he's like, it was the first time someone introduced us. He's like, you're in Hartford, I'm in Hartford. I was working for HSB. And he's like, hey, I'm building, like you said it, a community of like-minded individuals, leaders that want to move our industry forward. And it's the entire value chain. We're talking about key people from the insurer side, from the broker side, from the agency side, key solution providers that are providing these turnkey applications and key systems. We're talking about innovators in our industry, either that are innovating from outside but have the technology background, or folks that have viewed these pain points throughout the years and said, I want to do something different because I've seen the pain internally or externally from our customers. And that vision and mission, I wanted to embrace it. I mean, I'm already working on my daytime during insurance. I just wanted to continuously embrace and learn and get involved with the ecosystem. And like you said, ITC was still in infancy. I think it started back in 2016. And then we talked about some of the folks that joined. Right? We have the folks, like I said, with David Gritz in InsurTech New York and folks up north in Ohio. So we're building these smaller communities. And in Hartford, we have great carrier presence and a lot of involvement in terms of thought leadership there. What are these companies doing to move the needle forward for our industry? And it started with these networking events, 3 to 4 hours to be able to, first of all, provide networking opportunities, right? And it happened right around the time when, COVID, got here. So a lot of folks were separated for months, right? We're talking about complete shutdown. So people wanted to continue to meet in person or at the time virtually and look for ways to start innovating. So I loved the concept, loved the idea, wanted to be part of that community, wanted to give back to my community, but also be more close to the people that are innovating in it. And that's what really draw me to Stacy's vision and mission and get involved with the InsurTech ecosystem. Like I said, it's a small group, right? Insurance, it's small, but we're talking about InsurTech now being even smaller. So whenever you go to similar conferences, you see the same type of faces. But isn't that great? Like the whole concept of influencer network and these, the influencer awards that Stacy now has at the symposium. I mean, that is amazing because there's truly folks like yourself that are truly pushing the needle forward and talking about issues that are critical for our industry. And there's ways to consume different information. Like when I first started, I would sign up for publications. I mean, we were talking about this before the call, right, Jeff? It's how do you consume all this information? And now, I spend most of my day looking on LinkedIn, right? I spend, days into like going to trade shows. And I've been, fortunate enough to also have people in my life that have been great mentors, which I've also learned in terms of the insurance industry, in terms of, technology that we're adapting, in terms of what's critical to move us kind of forward.
So InsurTech, even though it got 80 billion plus in funding from venture-backed companies the last 6 years, it has somewhat of a frowned upon reputation. That, maybe is some of that self-seduced, right? Like some of the InsurTech company came out the gate, they're like, we are replacing these $80 billion legacy companies, or we are replacing people with bots, where we are replacing insurance brokers. So some of these more brash pitch decks out of the gate and their way of delivering their message probably given InsurTech a bad reputation because, you talk about very, very prideful people who are prideful of their organization and what they have achieved, right? So what was that like combating that in the first 2 to 3 years of InsurTech Hartford? Today, InsurTech Hartford is who's who, right? You go to InsurTech Hartford event, it's all the senior leadership of legacy companies, venture capital, and InsurTech founders, right? But back then, like the first year, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, no, a great question, right? So to me, what I saw, and I'm coming in from the insurer angle. So, when all these startups were popping up and they said they're going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, the one thing that internally we're looking at is, do they understand the basic concepts of rate making, claims adjudication, in terms of binding, right? You have these technology companies, they're great. They're adopting, they're coding in all different types of languages, right? They're embracing new forms of application development. But do they understand the business that they're trying to innovate in? I mean, I saw some companies that were coming from the leisure and travel business, innovators, trying to apply the principles to, an insurance, adjudication process. And I'm like, how does it even make any sense? Yes, you might be a great technologist, but that doesn't always translate well into actually solving a problem and a need for an insurance carrier. Right. So those are two different things. And, it was great to hear about the aspirations. We call it the great audacious goal that these companies were. They're going to, be the next claims handling process or policy administration system, let's just say. But you needed to have critical people that have been in the industry for a while to understand how it functions. And in those early years, I feel like it was a little bit of like wild, wild west, like people were just taking everything in. Obviously, the economic environment also embraced a lot of funding of some of these companies, right? And without really looking at purely what are you offering, how are you doing it, the sustainability of some of these things. But there were so many good nuggets in there because even though some of these technologies might have not comprehended completely the basics of insurance, they quickly learned that they need subject matter expertise in terms of their teams that they were building. So it changed, I think, relatively quickly. I wouldn't say overnight, but even the quality of the pitches that we were hearing as I was moderating some of these sessions, you could clearly hear it in their pitches in terms of their better educating themselves in our industry, but also now they're backing up those pitches with people that they've been part of that team and part of the board. And to me, that was a true turning point to say, InsurTech is here. InsurTech is going to be here for a long time. And it's going to be a powerful force to innovate in the industry because it's the traditional, build it on your own, partner or purchase, right? And a lot of times now you have more options for these insurers, carriers, incumbents, and brokers to be able to say, what's best for me? Things are changing so rapidly. Maybe it's a good idea to start listening to what these guys are saying and these gals are saying.
100%. Like it went from let's hire tech. We pride ourselves in everybody outside insurance to now they are recruiting the who's who, the OG, the people who just truly come from legacy companies, have been around, understand insurance, understand claims, understand payouts. I mean, the thought process have changed 180 degrees, and now we are probably going to see real change ahead of us. And I'm pretty excited about the next journey. So to finish up the pod, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Please do. Hopefully
next year,
not too difficult.
in the next year, when I have you back on the pod, what are some of the comfortable goals for Arlind and uncomfortable goals for Arlind that you are going to come down on?
Great question. So, I'm a big believer of building your own brand, right? And this is a true example of, each of us have unique skills and assets that we bring to our organizations, to the industry, and being involved now for 16 plus years. I truly cherish the people that I've met, the industry that I'm in, and I'm a continuous learner of the industry. I think, the InsurTech movement has changed the game for us, how we adapt technology to make it easier to purchase insurance, to cover risks that are potentially underserved, or even go to markets that have been completely unserved. I think it's a great opportunity. Different types of risks are popping up every single day. I mean, just talking about cyber insurance in 5 years, 10 years ago didn't even exist, and where we're at now, connected devices, connected solutions, and what that actually means in terms of preventing some of these claims from happening. I think it's an amazing time, and I urge everybody that has not looked at insurance, please do, because you're embracing new technology. You are working with some of the smartest people that I have ever had the pleasure to meet. And, I've done a couple of stints outside the industry, but also you're making a real difference. I mean, the concept of risk management and protecting that nest egg and protecting that risk, I mean, it's just unfathomable, right? It drives our economy. I think personally too, being part of Varus now, one of my goals is to kind of move the needle in terms of how do we build better relationships. Varus has been known as a company that has really good relationship, what I call with the business side of the IT, but I'm truly trying to build more connections in terms of the technology leaders, become truly a technology partner. Because I used to be in the IT side. What used to happen is, business leader would get the technology, they want to embrace it, they bring it on board, and sometimes they'll throw it over the wall to the technical groups to start implementing it. When they already have a backlog of, 10, 15 things, there's always now these integration challenges. And with the adoption of, data models and large language models and generative AI, we need to make it simpler, that when we're adopting these new technologies and embracing them, to be able to provide better insights into how to price a risk or adjudicate a certain claim or not. How does that happen when it's a more combined team between business and IT? And I would say a lot of the insurance have this goal of being technology companies, right? But at the core, right, well, they're insurance company, right? It's all about, gross written premium, making sure that they're adjudicating the claims properly and so on. So my goal is to build better relationships within the industry and talk about some of the challenges we're experiencing in more of a peer industry network group. And that's what I hope to kind of bring. And the InsurTech Hartford organization, I'm hopefully starting soon an InsurTech Florida group here as well, part of the same group, because I am in Florida now. So
where'd you move to?
So I moved in February of this year. So I'm full-time in the greater Tampa area. So that's the goal, is to start building more of these communities, because every single community has its own sets of challenges,
I'm looking at Tampa right now. I'm looking at Tampa and Sarasota.
You are more than welcome here. And I think we can do a lot of these brainstorming sessions in person.
We can build our own studios and just do some
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I feel like the insurance market in Florida is a completely different ballgame. It's its own uniqueness, right? There's obviously, everybody talks about cats, but I have never in my life, I've had more conversations about insurance from non-insurance people. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
talking about the guy that, fixing up my fence. I'm talking about the guy that was fixing my dishwasher the other day. And that means something, right? If truly the consumers of our industry are talking about this much, then we need to listen. And that's what I hope to learn more from these folks and see how we can apply it across the board.
We're going to connect offline.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get your people to get that chapter started. So this way that InsurTech Tampa go live. And then one day I come join you guys.
Love it, man. You're
So
welcome.
I'm going to put in the comment section all your links,
Okay.
link to get a hold of you, link to follow your LinkedIn page. But what I do want to do is encourage you to get Arlind TikTok page. So this way that our listeners can follow you.
Sounds good. That is my goal. Yeah, I want to grow that TikTok presence.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you, Jeff.
coming on, and I look forward to have you back in the future.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff, for the opportunity to be on the podcast. I wish you best of luck. I know from knowing you now 5+ years, you're a great content producer. You talk about the things that we truly care. And I wish you continued success. And hopefully I am invited back once you've grown it 10 times more. 10x this thing.
Sounds good. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Take care.
Bye.